thanks for coming back. This is part 2 of Tom and I's conversation with Sidehouse Brewing.
Have you ever gone into one of these breweries down there in Salt Lake or wherever, and you order a beer and you take a sip and you're like, oh, fuck, they really missed the mark on this one?
I think that's anywhere you go, but who am I to approach that? There are some companies that do their own thing. We're all different when we're brewing, right? And we have different ideas and approaches to what we're doing and how they manage their program after that. That sets aside, I guess, from the other guy. But there's sometimes I think that people either could get rid of it or they think that it's good enough for the public, where most people nowadays, and I'm not passing judgment on people's palates or anything, but I think there's some beer out there that should not be released, and they think that it's good enough to where they can release it, and just because they need to make the money off of that.
Sure.
And
that's anywhere you go.
Right.
It doesn't matter if it's in Utah or
here
in
anywhere,
Idaho or Cali or anywhere else.
That's the point, though, because last episode, we talked to Bryce to Brownbeard, and we were talking to him and saying, basically, you could give 5 different breweries the same recipe, and you're going to get a different beer every single time.
Oh, yeah. Most definitely.
I mean, it's never going to taste the same. So,
but also to that is sometimes if it's not the style that you're used to or that you drink it frequently,
sure,
really you shouldn't pass judgment, because that's not your forte.
Exactly. So that's another
shut
big
your
key
damn
too.
mouth and
right,
drink it.
Yeah, or don't, or see if they order, or if they give samples too. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, you can't get a taster, or maybe they'll let it slide.
In Utah.
In Utah.
Okay, that's unfortunate.
Yeah.
How do you know if you
I was gonna say, you
no
don't know.
flights.
Yeah.
No flights are available. Oh yeah, dude. No flights.
Because it's like several beers at one time.
Yeah. And they don't add it up. Well, this is one glass. No, they don't do that.
Right, because usually flights are only 4 ounces or something.
Yeah, they don't do that. And that takes me back to what you were asking about, like the quality of what stuff is. And it reminded me of, like for early on in homebrewing, and they still do it, or pros will offer the homebrew version of that.
Oh yeah.
Oh right.
And I think I've never done that. I've never made somebody else's recipe.
Cloned it.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
And I think that sets people up as far as a home brewer, because we're not at that level where we can make something quality.
Failure, basically, right? I mean,
and these people are thinking that, I'm going to achieve this because, and to each their own. I appreciate those breweries, and I'm going to drink their beer, but I'm not going to brew it. Right. I'm a brewer, and my mindset behind that always has been that I'm going to do what I need to do in my brewery to make it mine, not copy. We all have general information that we follow, as far as ideas, and that's what we go off of. But our systems are different.
Your water's going to be different.
Everything's different, man. Yeah. We all have that, and I think we're not supposed to cookie cutter shit,
right?
And I think one thing that's really interesting in brewing is like to come up with your own recipe and thinking like, okay, these hops are going to pair well together, and just creating that recipe is really a cool idea. It's like baking, right? Like you got to get it right. You got to measure everything properly. Everything's going to be perfect.
Sounds like this is a leeway to your
shut the front door.
Every episode pitch here.
Nope. Go ahead, Tom. I'm not going to pitch it. Nope,
do it. Come on.
I'm not going to do it. Nope.
I'll do it for Tom. Have you ever heard of Zithos hops?
Yes.
Okay.
Here we go. Finally, somebody else has heard of it.
It's not. I don't believe it's in production anymore.
Oh,
I think that was.
Fuck's sake.
No wonder I can't find it anymore.
It was only available for a few years, I think, and then it didn't really
take off
as those growers were hoping. Is it a blend, or was it an actual?
It's not a blend. It's an actual
variety. Yeah, I think they were hoping, but other stuff just took off, and other experimentals were
Yeah.
more important than that one at that time.
Yeah.
Because I looked it up, and I remember when it was out, and I never bought it, but I've listened to your guys' conversations about that.
Yeah.
And then I had to remind myself and looked it up, and I'm like,
Yeah.
this shit's not in.
I got about 4 ounces in my fridge
It's
right
not
now.
in production anymore, you know.
4 ounces.
But its descriptors were like
It's
like
amazing.
Yeah, it sounds freaking
I
good.
did a homebrew all Zithos, just straight up IPA, hands down the best fucking IPA.
Yeah, well, no,
It's
it
really
sounds
good.
amazing.
Yeah.
But
What makes it
sometimes
so
something
rare?
about it probably didn't work out, you know, on the farm.
I
Like,
wouldn't say it's rare. It's just they just didn't really mainstream it, right? They just quit producing it, I guess.
Yeah, I don't know if anybody used it. I mean,
I don't-
I remember seeing it down there at Homebrew Stuff, but
Just never caught on.
Right.
Whatever
Yeah, I don't
the
remember.
but honestly, now's the time to bring it back.
Absolutely.
If you're going to bring it back, now's the time because they got all kinds of weird shit coming out, and I think that profile actually meets a lot of check boxes that
Yep.
you would want nowadays.
Yeah,
So
and
maybe it was ahead of its time.
Maybe it was. Maybe it was.
Yeah.
well, that's what they thought about Simcoe too. And when they first just grew it, they only grew so much of it, and they were like, "No, we got to get rid of this." So brewers were like, "Well, let's take some," and it blew up, and that was probably one of the most amazing things that Yakima Chief came up with.
Oh, yeah.
With the 3 farms that actually grow, that own the name in Washington for Simcoe, and it's blown up, and it is the most amazing fucking hop on the.
Very widely used.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Huge. I think it's maybe one of the most widely used. I think probably 65% of brewers use that today. I just made that shit up.
Yeah, where's this
I'm gonna fact check you on
I
that.
think, like you see a lot of people using Mosaic. Mosaic is the daughter of Simcoe, and so
Yeah.
that's used a lot. Those
You do
qualities
see a
are a
lot of
little
that.
bit different. They're almost similar, but nowhere near that.
Yeah.
I remember.
Citra is another one. El Dorado is a huge one.
I remember early on there was several breweries that came out with like an all single hop Mosaic, and I remember the first one I tried, I didn't really like it, but then it kind of grew on me, and now that I tend to gravitate towards them if I see them because they're usually pretty good.
All right. So Occam Caesar number 1.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think that is?
I have no idea.
I think that's Mosaic.
Is it Mosaic?
Yeah.
That one's really good.
It is really good. For some reason, Barley Brown does a fucking phenomenal job. That one year they came out with like 6 or 7,
8? Yeah.
Some
Something.
shit.
Yeah, it was
Fucking
crazy.
crazy shit.
Yeah.
But they were all really good.
Mm-hmm.
I want to say the Citra was number 6, but I could be wrong.
I remember 6. being
Tyler,
really
if
good.
you're listening to this, you can
Yeah, let us
you
know.
know, let me know. But yeah, those are all really good. And if anybody, I think he's got the most understanding of what it takes to make Simcoe like fucking shine.
Oh, for sure.
I mean, because I think a lot of his beers are very Simcoe forward.
Yeah.
Which, yeah, obviously though, one of our favorites.
Always a
Hence
favorite. Yep.
Sign up there.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And your shirt.
Yeah, my shirt. Yeah. Yeah. Every time we go there, we just stock up as much as we can.
Oh,
Just
yeah,
grab
for
shit
sure.
left and right. Hats inside. My other 2 shirts are hanging up.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think I got 3 hats and several shirts and a couple
It's a good-
sweatshirts.
Honestly, it's a good time when we go to Baker City.
Which isn't far, right?
It's
Couple
2 hours away from
Yeah.
here.
Oh wow.
And it's a different time zone,
Yeah.
so it's like technically 1 hour.
Yeah.
Technically.
Babe, I'll be gone a few hours.
Right.
We've gone up there for the last year and a half, 2 years.
2 years.
We go up in the spring, we go up in the fall,
Yeah.
and we stay the night. There's a little
bed and breakfast. Well, not
Is
really
it-
bed and breakfast, but little
kind of bed and breakfast.
guest house thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We stay the night there, and we go golf in the day, play 18 holes, drink a little bit of beer then, and then we head to Barley Brown and just
Tear it up.
tear it up the whole rest of the night. But we don't
Show them how to do it.
we order food, and
Yeah.
food's phenomenal.
Food's great.
Food's great. San Diego fries,
Really good.
awesome.
Really good. Yeah.
It's like a bunch of French fries with some meat and like nacho shit
Yeah, it's
all over.
really
I mean,
good.
it's really good.
Wow.
Yeah.
But yeah, then we just sit there and we drink beer after beer after beer. One time, we got a back room tour.
We got a
of the
tour.
place.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, it was really cool. Yeah, we went there and we saw the guy working, and we talked to the bartender after a couple beers. We got some liquid courage in us, you know.
gotta have that.
And so we went up there and talked to the guy. We're like, "Hey, can we?" And he's like, "Yeah,
Check out
let
the
me,
brew house.
Yeah, he's like,
Yeah.
"Yeah, let me go back there and talk to him." Yeah, sure
Yeah.
enough. Yeah, we went back there.
Usually they're pretty cool if you're
Yeah,
if you
yeah.
ask
Oh, yeah.
them and they're not busy.
Yeah, exactly.
Too terrible, you know.
Yeah.
It was amazing to go in there too, because like you think like how widely distributed they are in the Pacific Northwest, that they'd have this like huge facility, and it's not big at all. It's
Yeah, it doesn't. It
way
doesn't look like they
smaller
have a
than
big-
you think. It's like
Yeah, it doesn't look
it's
like they
like
have a big
wow,
facility.
these guys
Cranking beer out,
crank some
yeah.
beer
Yeah.
out. Yeah.
I mean, it's like nonstop because as much as they put out is a lot.
Oh yeah, for sure.
But I will say that it was super fun. The next time we went up, I do believe Tyler was actually in the back brewing and stuff, and he came out a
was.
couple times and did whatever. But I had not had enough liquid courage to talk to him because, I mean, honestly, he's like one of my idols, really, because he makes like one of the best beers ever.
Yeah.
So I just super intimidated. But Stacy was telling us that he's like super nice,
Super cool.
great guy.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I can't wait to get up there, talk to him a little bit. This year is their 25th anniversary.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah. That's gonna be
Fuck
cool.
yeah, they're gonna shut down Baker City,
Downtown, right?
downtown Baker
Yeah.
City.
Big
And have
party?
some big blowout
Yeah.
for 2 days.
Mhm.
And when is this?
It's June 2nd and 3rd, I think.
Yeah.
Oh shit. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'll
Would be
make,
a lot of
I'll
fun.
make I'll make a mental note.
yeah,
Right. You
Right.
should.
Sis, can I sleep on the couch?
Right. Right.
And then I'll just
Right.
drive a couple hours.
yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. We got to make it there for sure.
yeah.
All right. So, how long have you been homebrewing?
12 years.
12 years.
Yeah. This last February, 12 years.
So when you started home brewing, I obviously, I'm sure, I guess not obviously, but I'm sure you didn't have like the super nice equipment that you do now. What did you start with? Because I started with like a turkey burner, the
Yeah.
deep fryer turkey shit that I got at
Yeah.
Lowe's on clearance.
He's a banjo burner.
yeah,
And did some kegels.
Okay.
Being a welder, you know, I had the ability to make my own pots, my own kettles. So
Yeah.
that,
Do you-
That was an advantage.
you're an aluminum welder.
Stainless.
That's a talent, right? in
And I still
itself.
have that kettle. I still have both of them, and I use one of them for my.
He's got one right there.
It's that old keg I cut the top off.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
And just went for it. I started all grain. I didn't do any extract. That wasn't my approach to. And I guess there's back to being a purist for certain styles. That was my approach to it. I didn't want to. I didn't understand so much of either side of it, but I wanted it to be the best of what I could do, being a beginner. You know, going into it all grain, just fucking get it done. You know, I didn't want to mess with extracts, horror stories with that stuff. So yeah, mashed in an igloo cooler, as most people do. Made my own fittings to adapt to certain things. I bought benders that I could do all that stuff, and then just the fittings that I needed to make all that work. And then came the name. It was Sidehouse Ales the first year, because I mashed inside just next to the side door of the garage, and then boiled outside. Or if we had some crazy weather, I would do all that 100% in the garage. But then it turned into Sidehouse Brewing, because different styles and stuff. So I just went for that, because it's not only about ales, right?
Sure.
There's lagers and
Yeah. All the
other
different
kinds of nonsense. Brett beers,
Yeah.
that's in its own entity too.
Right.
So yeah,
So are you like a LLC? Do you have this name copyrighted? What's up?
I don't.
No?
It is just a name that I created for myself as a home brewer, and it's just something that's stuck. No one's taken it. There are other side breweries out there, but it's not what I was after. It's just something that stuck in the beginning as far as, being a home brewer, where I was at, what I was doing. So I just named it Side House Brewing because I brewed and taught myself on the side of my house.
So you are totally 100% self-taught home brewer.
Yeah. Aside of reading books, and at the time there wasn't a lot of information on the internet. There was some, and then being at the mercy of whatever the homebrew shop was going to help you figure out or teach you or whatever. But for the most part, it was talking to pros and reading books and magazines, whatever they were putting in there. And then me, being a cook as well, I approach things the way that I think they should be, sometimes with experiments, but for the most part, you approach it with, the proper information, and then get it done, execute it as best as possible. So yeah, that's how it started. We've talked about being pro. There was at one point someone reached out to us and distant family, but that never worked out. I think that was more or less to see what I knew and how comfortable I was with the business side of it, and I was too new for the business side. Also the brewing side, a lot of work needed to be done, so that never happened. But I'm happy where I'm at, home brewing.
So would you say that going professional, is that a goal? Are you looking to do that, or are you just
No,
where you're at?
I'm happy where I'm at. Not an immediate goal, but if something were to happen,
So if you won the lottery, you'd be starting a brewery tomorrow.
And I'm not one to branch out and look for investors, because some of the people or the family members that we have are not interested in being an investor. So, and I don't, and that's not my goal.
If I won the lottery, I'd do it too.
I would. If I won the lottery, I'd be pro
All
immediately.
in.
Yeah. And I would dump out the first 137 batches.
Right.
But I wouldn't care because I won the lottery.
Right,
Yeah.
exactly.
Endless stream of money.
Exactly.
Fuck it. I'll make bad beer. So, Joe, tell us, when you come up to Boise, what are the breweries that you absolutely have to hit before going back home?
I'm a sockeye fan, and
Okay.
that goes back to when I was living in California. I'm a huge sockeye fan. I just love what they're doing. Classic Pacific Northwest styles. And they just hit all of it. Their porter, their Maibachs, their IPAs, pretty much everything they do is stellar. So them, and there's a bunch of new companies that I haven't been to. I did Loose Screw the other day. That was good. And I really don't branch out. I kind of just go get cans, and if something sticks out, then I'll go do it. Or if something's on tap somewhere from a local business, then I'll do that too.
So you kind of.
But mostly when we come up here, it's kind of hard to get away because we're here to see family for a little bit, and then it's hard for me to get out whoever is going to want to drink beer for several hours.
Right. Like you got two nephews that will do that.
So there's that, and then now you guys.
For sure.
I'd really like to continue this friendship.
Absolutely.
And then meet up every time we come into town,
Yeah. Last weekend, my wife and I did go down to the new sockeye place at the end of 36th Street.
Yeah, awesome.
The big garden.
Yeah.
It used to be a garden center. Now it's at 36th Street. Huge. They really got 3 different areas. One, when you walk in the door, when you find the door and actually walk into it, you got the kind of restaurant area. If you go through that, you got the bar area. If you go the opposite direction of the bar, That's the little putt course, and it's an indoor putt course.
Oh,
yeah.
Maybe 9 holes. You can putt around.
Oh, wow. That big?
And
Yeah,
it's place is ginormous.
Wow.
But you can sit in there, get food, drink, and putt. I did hear. Actually, I think this weekend is the grand opening.
It is, this
Yeah.
weekend. Yep.
So last weekend we went, and apparently there was a lot of kids playing the putt. So I think eventually they'll get that. under
That'll
control.
fade out.
What the
Yeah.
heck are they doing there?
Right. Adults will actually be able to do it and all that kind of.
Utah is really fucking weird, man, because from what I understand is that they'll bring in surrounding places or specific big names, like Sierra Nevada is one, and they'll pull in like the seasonals, which is great, and then they'll get a couple of their core beers, but aside of that, it's hit and miss, and I don't know who's in control of that, what they bring in, but most of the restaurants and bars, they get all of the good shit, but it never ends up in the damn liquor store. Equilibrium is a big one. That's East Coast.
I won't buy that anymore.
Lumberbeard. You never see
Yeah,
that.
That's really good. Yeah.
Up north,
Dude, they're
Spokane.
so amazing.
They're good,
Yeah,
yeah.
that company's so good. Only in restaurants. You don't see it in the liquor stores. Same thing with going in the liquor store. You want like a specialty type of whiskey or scotch, whatever the hell you have to commit to a case before they'll order it. And then if it's in their, and if only it's in their queue. If they have that name in their queue, they'll order it, but you have to commit to that. And then the extra that they order, then will go on the shelf. So someone has to do that. Or whenever they're wanting to grab something, like Whistle Pig is another big one that they pull in, and it's like hit and miss what they grab.
So you're gonna have to get like a little U-Haul trailer the next time you come up here for all the beer that you want to bring back down, because you can't get it. I mean, Georgetown's got so many good ones right now.
Tons of them. Yeah.
Unfortunately, War Child's not out yet. I hope
Not
it does
yet.
make another appearance. But Meows is
Meows
out.
is out.
Body's Off is always a good one.
Lucille.
Lucille, I mean,
Johnny Utah is good.
it's really good.
No pun intended, right?
None.
Right?
What do you think of Equilibrium? 'Cause
It's very interesting that you say that, because I've had in Utah and then had one here
yeah.
the other day, and it was the same experience. So I don't know if it's the way that distribution is holding on to that, or it is their brewing practices. Because I've had some fresh cans, and it is like all fucking foam.
Yeah.
Massive foam and like a very high level of carbonation.
Yeah.
Like it is almost explosive in
Kinda
some
like
of
my beer.
in some of the cans that I've opened.
So when they first started distributing here, I bought several different ones. MC Squared, I think I bought.
Yeah.
We've tried together. It's really good. A couple other ones, but probably, I don't know, 6 months ago, Co-op had them again, and they had some new ones, and I bought them, and I tried it, and it tasted like soap.
Yeah.
And I was like, what?
Some of them
fuck?
resemble like they were almost cross-contaminated with almost like a Brett style or some sort of something that happened. I don't know their process. I don't know enough about them.
I don't know either, but I remember when they first
But
came.
it's very interesting that it's every experience that I've had with all of their cans have been volcanoes. And you pour that thing in the glass and it's foam, and you gotta wait, man. I gotta order another freaking beer
Yeah.
to wait for this one to die down.
But you can't have two at the same time.
Hey, but
I drink my wife's.
his wife orders it.
All
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
It's the only way to get around that.
Anyways, I don't want to bash on them because
No,
they were good.
the beers-
ones that I've had,
the beers
that
are tasty.
very good. Just the last several times I bought them, they weren't good. And I
Yeah,
said,
just-
I'm not
understanding the process there.
But the other thing too, like when I bought them at Co-op, they don't put them in their cooler. They just kind of leave them on the shelf. And
yeah.
I'm like, the fuck? I mean,
Yeah.
really, guys?
The
Like,
Boise Co-op had them in the fridge. The Meridian Co-op had them on a shelf.
Yeah.
So
I
whatever, man.
I'm not sure.
Okay, so tell me about your absolute worst brew session, or beer, or home brew.
I think it was like maybe 4 or 5 years in. I was transitioning from whole hops, going into pellet hops. So I had to redesign my tank, my kettle, my boil kettle, to accept the whirlpool. So, and then a racking arm so that I could pump out wort without any nonsense in there. Hop debris, trub. Again, made my own fittings, not saying that I wasn't keen on making my fittings to adapt to the kettle, proper bends and so on and so forth. So all that was adequate. So I don't know what happened, but we were whirlpooling. It was the end of boil, and this thing foamed up like it was a bathtub with too much soap. You bury your kid in the bathtub with soap, and I don't know what happened. So maybe there was some friction going on there, and it was creating foam through wort through one of the fittings. But I made sure that there was no, from cutting the end of the tubing, that there was no barbs, where it would cause friction through that. So I don't know what happened, but there was a loss of wort because of that, and it was a very, very small batch. And then a porter one time, we did an imperial porter, and it completely ruined my hallway closet and floor. We had
I one of those.
we had Pebble Tech flooring in the house.
Oh,
And I got up in the morning to check it, and I saw that the floor was discolored. I'm like, fuck, and
Yeah.
the entire hallway closet had remnants of imperial porter all over the damn place, and it was still bubbling. It was dumping and pouring out, and it was going. So at a certain point, that was like a partial open fermentation for that porter.
Sounds like my black IPA.
yeah.
Beer turned out great. It was
Oh,
fine.
good.
It nothing ever happened to it, but I guess my blow off tube wasn't big enough to handle
Yeah.
that yeast strain, I guess, so
Okay.
to speak.
Yeah, I think
But,
I ruined my wife's jacket doing that.
You ruined my
I ruined your insides doing that.
right.
Yeah, mine
Yeah.
too.
Tore me up. Something fierce.
So we had both ends, right? So you had the throw up
I-
beer, and I
right.
had the diarrhea beer. So
Right.
there you go.
So we got both ends.
Yeah, we got both ends covered.
Like human geyser.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, yeah.
Exactly.
It was terrible.
I had a kegging incident one time, and I'm always really good, but we're human, right? So
Right.
we make mistakes.
Sure.
Apparently, one of my fittings wasn't tight on one of the posts. Well, it wasn't tight, and I woke up the next day, and it was still trying to bleed beer out of it, and half my garage, if not less, probably less, was nothing but a lake of beer.
Nice.
And then the whole, like, half the fridge was foam,
Yeah.
beer foam.
Oh God.
And it dries if it's thick and
Right.
dense.
Yeah.
It'll just stay there and it's
Whoa.
foam. And I open the fridge and I'm like, and it's like,
Nah.
Yeah.
it's just dumping out freaking
my
beer,
gosh.
And,
That's crazy.
Terrible.
One thing we want to know is, what is the highest ABV you've brewed before?
Just over 12%.
Damn.
And that was an Imperial Porter.
Okay.
So I designed it after Russian Imperial Stout,
Okay.
but porter. And I was It was a massive beer. It was pretty close to 40 pounds of grain. And,
For how many gallons?
so the yield was, I think in the end it was just under 10 gallons.
Okay.
Yeah, so
Okay.
I don't know if that's efficient. I didn't at the time that I did that beer. I knew my mash efficiency, but I don't know. I doubt that my brew house efficiency was at that level.
So how many pounds did you say? I'm
It
sorry.
was close to 40 pounds. So
So
just
that is still quite a bit.
just under. Yeah,
Quite a bit.
Just under. It was, but usually I'll dilute a little bit just to keep volume, but I couldn't do that
Right.
because I needed this thing to be like fucking ridiculous,
Right.
and there was a lot of yeast.
Yeah.
The yeast bill was very expensive for that brew.
So we did 2x4.
We tried to clone
in a
2x4.
5-gallon.
That was
And
a fucked up mess.
it-
I had a 5-gallon mash tun.
yours was. I mean, mine was okay.
Right. Well, no,
It
let's
was-
back up. Let's back up.
Oh, okay.
So the first time I did it, I had a 5-gallon mash tun, and it overflowed. It was too much grains to fit in a 5-gallon mash tun, but it ended up tasting really fucking good. I do remember trying it again when I had a bigger 10-gallon mash tun. Was not the same. Was not as good. Garbage. Shit.
But that was the one that was an interesting recipe because we used the Belgian candy yeast or sugar, right?
Yeah. Belgian candy
So
sugar.
did you do
Yeah.
the rock sugar or the syrup?
The rock. It was the
Oh,
rock.
okay.
The rock. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that
was a big beer.
it was a big beer. Fuck, I can't
I don't
even remember.
think I got the gravity I wanted on
No.
mine for sure. I was way off. It was still pretty
But-
big.
A 7% 2x4. It's pretty tasty. Really. I mean, 9% is really tasty too, but
Yeah.
7 you can have several and be okay.
Sure.
Yeah.
Melvin's 2x4 original 9%er, 1, maybe 2, and you're out.
Yeah,
Done.
exactly.
Finished.
Yeah, and I remember that was a really fun recipe to do. So, because I think there was a couple different things, right? So they had that competition down at Homebrew
Right,
Stuff,
homebrew stuff had the
and
competition.
they had the recipe for
Yeah.
you. That was one year we did it, and then I think the year before we ended up just finding a clone recipe that's to do it. So
Cool.
it was really fun.
Just something slightly different.
Yeah,
Tried it.
yeah,
I've also played with different recipes as far as not making a starter to handle that amount of beer, because it is a big beer in the beginning, but then adding sugars
Yeah.
later after
yeah.
fermentation, because essentially when after fermentation starts, that is basically a big starter. So then easier for the yeast to adapt. Just add like a neutral Belgian candy syrup or something, because you don't get any kind of wacky flavors. I've done that too before to increase alcohol on big beers.
Yeah.
Instead of doing it with all grain and then stressing yeast out, and who knows what's going to happen
Right.
at that point, So that's always a fun experiment to do too.
Yeah.
So you mentioned earlier that you really kind of just started out. You went all in, all grain. What are your thoughts on extract beer?
Well, I've had experimented, not myself, but tasting wise, with people that have brewed with extract and at a pro level. I don't necessarily care for those flavors. You can tell a big difference in quality. And then whatever that practice is that they're doing, is it 100%? Or are they doing partial mash, doing some specialty grains? And then the base of that, the majority of that is, the I guess the 2-row portion of that. So they just get a base syrup, whatever that is. And then I don't even know it was a basic process for me. I don't even fully understand it. But from what I've had, I don't care for it. There's a huge difference in flavor. It's not as clean, not as where beer should be, I guess you could say. If somebody, I guess, wanted to bump up their their ABV, you know, in the kettle. They could add maybe a little bit, or add some DME, dried malt extract, to their kettle to bump that if they missed their mark. But I don't care for it, and I never wanted to, because it's just purity, I guess.
Right.
You know, you want to do it the way that it should be instead of
Yeah, I totally get that for sure.
extract. So
Yeah,
and to each their own, if that's what they want to do, or if they want to do like partial mash, I could see that too, you know, and who knows what that's going to be at, like on the pro level.
Yeah.
You know, a partial mash, that might be more steps for them to take, but it could be, I don't know the cost of extract. So, dude, I mean, does that work for them because it's a shorter brew day? You know, you get that
Right.
hot water going, and you dump in your extract, and then you add your hops, and then you're done. You don't have to grain out. That's an extra step. But
I will say that the first, very, very, very first batch I did ended up being like it was real fucked up. I didn't know what I didn't read the whole book. So I'm trying to do like a fucking brew in a bag and extract at the same time. And the fucking syrup was all kinds of shitty and everywhere, and didn't turn out. It tasted, I tried to do a lager. I got my mother-in-law's refrigerator, brought it over, and I'm, lagering it, so to speak, quote unquote. Refrigerators don't lager. But I found that after the fact. Anyway, it tasted like an ale. I mean, and it wasn't a bad tasting ale. I used a lot of Saaz hops.
yeah,
So it didn't taste bad, but it just tasted like an ale instead of a lager. But after that brew session, that's when I finished the book. And that book really went back and forth on the purists versus the, I guess you'd say, non-purists that use the extracts and all that kind of stuff. And after reading that, I went to all grain and never once went back to the extract.
Yeah, that's
I-
kind of like when we met and we
Yeah.
started doing homebrew together, and that's all I knew was the all grain.
Right.
And I was like, yep, that's the only way to do it, right?
I think, honestly, you were part of the second batch.
Yeah.
So at that time, yeah, I was being on the first batch. It was like, all right,
Yeah.
fuck it,
Yeah.
all grain. So yeah, you were part of the all grain batch. I don't even remember what that was,
I don't either.
but I'm pretty sure it turned out.
Did it though?
I think so.
Okay. All right. Fair enough.
There's only a couple that really didn't turn out.
Yeah.
And mostly towards the end. As soon as I moved into this new house, I have not had one batch turn out. They've all been bad. So
Temperature control.
Tom keeps harping on the temperature control. I think maybe water, because I just
It
did
could be
tap.
water.
So a big thing, and there's lots of online resources for water profiles. Beersmith was one back in the day, and then there's obviously Brewfather is one of the most popular ones now. It's simplified across the board. Pros are using it. Pros have actually gone away from Beersmith and are using Brewfather because it's the simplification of, is that a word?
Yeah.
It is now.
That it is easier to control that recipe. Where I tried to use Beersmith back in the day, and it was complicated. It was hard to navigate through that system to fine tune water profiles, and they didn't give you like suggestions as far as water profiles or where you needed to be per style. So I've been using it for the last 4 years, and my beers have been completely different. But I will also say that I am one that sometimes doesn't adhere to something that is suggested or given to you. So in prior experiences, I will go back to that and have had great results. So I kind of play off of both of them until I meet that area of where I need to be as far as my profile. Because yes, I like what that system is offering, and then what I've learned prior to that. So I use both of those to create my water profile for whatever it is that I'm brewing, and then go from there. And then it's just recipe formulation. You plug in all your own information, as far as grain bills and hop additions and things like that.
Yeah, one of the things that was really interesting when we met with Matt from Idlewild, he talked about mash temperature, like for the different styles of beer. So that was one thing for me, like I was kind of like stuck to that, hey, like 155, 152, somewhere in there. But he was talking about like where you could mash at different temperatures for different kind of effects in your beer. And I was always I was mind blown because he was just like geeking out about this stuff. And thought that was really cool.
I practice that as well as far as lagers or heavily wheated beers. I'll do a step mash for those styles, and I think those things are appropriate and necessary for those styles as far as wheat goes. Lagers, the same. Classic lagers are decocted. That's a different process. You guys know what decoction is. So you take at a low temperature during the mash session, then you take a portion of that out, and then you boil it for X amount of time, 10 minutes, 15 minutes. Then that's supposed to rise the temperature to the next level, and then you rest it, and then you do it again. So you repeat this 3 times.
Okay.
That's classic lager brewing. Rogan is an ancient beer that is hardly made anymore, and that is basically, it's pretty much the same thing as a Hefeweizen, but it's with rye instead of wheat.
Okay.
And it utilizes the same yeast strain. So same practice there. They take that, and then very interesting process. It's fun too. It's a lengthy brew day if you're getting into that. But you typically step mash is the way that I roll. If I'm doing heavily wheated beers or rye beers, if I'm doing something that doesn't require a lot, then I won't step mash. Then I'll do the typical 152, 154 degrees. That's my go-to temps. Yeah. If I'm doing like West Coast Pales or West Coast IPAs, maybe 150, 149, 150. Okay. Drier the better for those types of beers,
Yep. That's kind of what Matt was talking about too, right?
Yeah.
Like if you lower temps, you get a little bit drier mouthfeel, that kind of thing.
Right. More fermentable. Yeah.
Yep.
And then usually I'll go into the mid range of that. I'll sit at 154 for 10 minutes or so, and then mash out, just so that there's some residual body there on those West Coasties.
Yeah, for sure.
Just my style of brewing.
Okay, one last question. So we've been through all this. You are super knowledgeable about brewing. What is it that's going to take it for you to go to that next step?
To be pro?
Yeah. What's it going to take? Because you're there. How many recipes do you have right now that are like, you're like, fuck, those
go-tos.
are really good
recipes?
recipes?
The go-tos, repeats.
Yeah. How many recipes do you have, and what's it going to take to go to that next step?
I'd say 10 plus.
10 plus
ones
recipes.
that I repeat. And then some of those I'll take and then do renditions of. Sure. I'll just change it slightly or add just a different yeast strain.
So it's like a rotating series.
Yeah, so there's I have a series too, so
okay.
Those are always fun too.
Yeah.
Okay,
all right.
Yeah, so
very good.
I think an investor, if someone were to approach us or me and offer that, that's one thing, and then figure out what they want and then the size that we're going to want to start at, right? So that's the biggest thing. Investment is the biggest thing. So a part of that would come from us, or a portion of that, just so that we're involved in that, not 100% investment from some outside source.
Right.
Or if a big chunk of money just shows up in my bank account
Like you win the lottery.
Yeah, win the lottery.
Right. Yeah,
Right.
exactly.
Yeah. So we're always, I don't try for those things, but it's always talked about. Like people
Yeah.
say,
yeah.
hey, like, why aren't you doing
We
this?
talk about it all the time.
I mean, to me, it sounds like you are just like on the verge. You've got everything damn near in place. You just need like the facility and the license.
Yeah. I don't want to, I'm not trying to toot my own horn or talk about how good I am or great I am, but the necessary steps that I take to approach brewing is more so than most home brewers. And I don't want to say most, but I go off of what I see, or talk about with other home brewers. And that is, I like to experiment and I like to spend money on that side of it. As far as new hop products, I reach out to hop farms and facilities that are creating these crazy new hop things, these products that are offered to pros and sometimes that are offered in a smaller amount. And I seek that. I approach that and I will call them. And sometimes, unfortunately, it's, you have to be a pro. So, but thankfully that some of these companies are offering that stuff to whoever wants to buy it, and as a brewer, that makes me more excited to want to try new things as far as, because I'm a hophead. That's the biggest thing that I approach most of my beers. And so if I can get my hands on things that other homebrewers can't get a hold of or don't know where to source that, I reach out.
Yeah.
That's what I do. But I buy my hops online, Yakima Valley hops.
Yeah.
Hopsteiner is another one. They offer to the public. You don't have to be a pro to buy from them. Roy Farms is another one. But Willamette Valley Hops and Hopsteiner is one of the biggest suppliers of, and Yakima Valley Hops as well, that supply hop products aside of pellets and whole leaf hops. That, like, I'm a kid in a candy store when it comes to that shit, and I'll drop however much money need to.
Money's no object.
No, and at that level, it doesn't matter. And I'm not pro, and I'm not trying to be somebody or prove myself to anybody. I do what I want, and our beers come out great.
Oh, it matters, right?
Yeah.
The beer coming out great. Not making you throw up.
Right. Or have diarrhea.
Right.
Yeah. The geyser beer.
Right.
What style was that? Do you know?
His was a black IPA. Mine was just a regular IPA.
Okay. So do we collab and make a geyser IPA?
Oh, there we go.
But not
Right.
Not
a
throw up
geyser.
Not a geyser.
and shitter pants?
Right. That sounds like a great idea to me. I'm all about not shitting my pants.
Yeah, me too. Because, sorry, but shitting your pants in an outhouse is not fun.
Right.
No.
Yeah, we were camping
Oh.
when I had the black IPA.
Yeah.
Jeez.
Okay.
Yeah. So outhouse city. At least there was an outhouse instead of just a log. That
That's
I had
true.
to squat over.
That is true.
So what is you guys obviously like the hazies or
Yeah.
just IPAs in general? Like
Hazies,
you guys are
IPAs.
hopheads as well,
Yeah.
right? Yeah. So is that your go-to style as far as if you were to brew them again, or just
it's
just
gonna be
what you
straight-
gravitate when you go
straight
to
IPA.
buy?
You know,
Me.
I think I brewed one stout one time only for my brother.
For your brother,
The rest of the time, it's all been IPAs.
yeah.
Never tried a hazy once. Good IPA.
Yeah.
Good
well,
classic.
I mean, yeah. I've done a couple. I did one hazy, and it turned out okay. Ish.
You know, when you're homebrewing, it just looks hazy all the time.
That's true. Because it's unfiltered, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
We always like to end the podcast
Yep.
with a quote, famous beer quote.
Yes.
we're going to let Joe take this one over.
Yep.
Go ahead, Joe.
What do you got, Joe?
Stephen Wright wrote, 24 hours in a day, 24 beers in a case. Connecticut.
Have you ever had 24 beers in 24 hours?
I have not. I subconsciously, I may have tried or wanted to, or
Did you get even halfway through that, or
Okay.
like?
oh
'cause,
yeah,
I mean,
probably well over half.
Okay,
and
so,
with
yeah.
like, well, we've always been big beer dudes, even like in my early 20s. Like, we had a group of friends that were like different from the other people, and we were always on the group outside of everybody else drinking Bud Light and Coors Light and all that other bullshit.
Yeah.
And we'd show up to parties with like bombers of something from Sierra Nevada, usually the Pale Ale or
Yeah.
Arrogant Bastard, and people
Yeah.
were like, "What the fuck are you drinking?
Yeah.
Like, this is big boy beer."
Yeah, they can't.
I remember when I got Mark turned on to IPAs. Bombers were a huge
Oh,
deal, right? Like
giant.
huge deal.
Everybody had a
And
bomber.
Everybody had a bomber, and it was Melvin IPA. It was their straight up IPA, and turned them on to that, and yeah, it was all over from there, right? Like it was just you had that first sip and you were done.
Yeah, we handled it, man. But we always had a different palate than most people in our group.
Yeah.
Like they didn't understand what we were drinking. Like I was drinking Sierra Nevada Pale Ale and Celebration in my early 20s,
Sure.
and
Yeah.
that was unheard of.
Yeah.
No one was drinking that shit. They
Right.
would just leave it in the fridge at the liquor store, the grocery store.
Looks weird.
No one
Yeah.
would touch it,
Yeah.
and it would just go
So
from there.
I think this is a pretty good challenge. We will find a really good tasting session IPA, and we will drink 24 in 24 hours. How about that?
Challenge accepted.
Okay.
We'll put on our big boy pants and we'll do it.
Give
Let's
me
do
like
it.
a hazy pale ale or something like that. I think that'd be good.
Let's wait for the wives to go out of town, and
Yeah, right. Right.
yeah, and then we're gonna do it.
Yeah.
My wife can stay in town, and I can just go.
There you go.
She's gonna hear all this, and she's gonna be like, "You fucking do whatever."
You made promises your ass cannot. Yeah, so sorry. All right. As always, we're going to wrap this thing up. Special thanks to Joe and Tate for coming down. I really appreciate that.
Hold on, Tom. One more second.
Oh,
Tate,
Yeah.
do you have any last remarks? Anything you want to say?
Honestly,
listeners.
I mean, I've been grateful to sit along and hear you guys talk. You guys are very knowledgeable, and wow, that's what I want to hear. I love listening to you guys. That's all I can say.
It was great to have you here.
we
It's
appreciate
great to
it.
have you, Joe.
Yep.
Thank
for
you
sure.
very much.
Thank you.
I
All right.
appreciate being here.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Thank
Thanks
you very
for the
much.
opportunity.
Yeah, as always, special thanks to Joe and Tate for coming down. You can hit us up with any questions or requests on emptycans2022@gmail.com, or you can message us on Instagram or Facebook at emptycans.com. Thanks, guys.
All right. Thank you, everybody. Thanks for
Cheers.
listening.
Thank you.
Cheers.
Thanks.